Hi, I'm Steve Thompson, president of Emery Thompson Machine.
And I'm from the health department.
This is Jeff Markow from, what do you call it? Mystic Ice Cream in Fruit Loops, Florida. This is Sammy. I just wanted to let you see how Sammy's doing because a lot of you follow our 200 videos. She's will be a year and a half at the end of November. She's been through a lot of police training to learn etiquette, and this is what we got. She can sit and stay.
Can she sniff out the narcotics in the audience?
No, just the ice cream. So she's doing pretty good, and I just wanted everybody to be able to see who watches our videos how well she's doing. Okay, up. Go with Ken. Yeah, you don't know that one. Here you go. Bye-bye. No. No deviating. Come on. See you later. Thanks, Ken. So just a couple of startup ground rules. I woke up this morning, and when I saw Jeff, I told him, I said, I just have a feeling this is going to be the best class we've done all year. And I can tell. And he said, well, based on what his last 2 days of his class were like.
It's not going to go well at all.
No, that's not what he told me. He said that it was a very enthusiastic crowd, and so we're very happy you're all here. The thing that generates this class, besides us doing the dog and pony show, and we've already done the dog, we'll bring the pony in later, is questions. So as you have questions, please ask them. The funny thing that happens when we do this is we take a break for coffee, we take a break for lunch, and everybody rushes up and has a million questions. Well, the people who are watching the video want to hear the questions too, so please ask questions as we go along. We'll probably repeat your questions so that the camera, the video, the audio can hear it. But when we're talking about something, raise your hand and we'll get to you very quickly, because if you have a question about, well, did he use corn sugar or cane sugar, you know, if you wait until lunchtime to ask the question, we will have been moved on to about 10 different subjects. So please, as things come up, ask questions. Right over there, if you would unlock that door, please, behind you. I'm a past fireman, and so that's an exit, this is an exit, and that's an exit out of the building. If you want to get up and walk around, we won't be offended. Please, anytime, get up and move around. If you go outside the building to smoke, don't take Sammy with you. She's trying to quit. So we'll get started. I think I'll give you the agenda first. Jeff has already changed a little bit of what he's going to make, but we'll pass these around. And I'll show you what we plan to make today. And I'm going to start with an Italian ice. Italian ice has a lot of different names. In New York, we call it Italian ice. As you go down the Jersey Turnpike towards Philadelphia, the name changes to Italian water ice. And if you're up on Bay 8th Street in Brooklyn, it's called Granita or Granite. And they are all basically sugar, water, and flavor. And a fine fancy restaurant calls it sorbet or sorbetto. People say, what's the difference between sorbet and Italian ice? Only the price. You can get much more for a sorbet because you're selling in a fancy environment as opposed to Italian ice that you're selling on Coney Island. So there is no difference, sugar, water, and flavor. Where the difference comes in is the sugar content. What they're selling down in Philadelphia, Italian water ice, is actually smoother than a New York ice. Now, based on the bigger machine, the 24 quart, because that's the way my brain thinks, the formula, my secret formula for lemon ice, which is the basis of all ices, is 7 pounds of sugar, 14 quarts of water, and 2 quarts of fresh squeezed lemon juice. You can make it easier by using an extract or a base, but it depends on your market. If you're out in Omaha and they've never had Italian ice, you can get away with using a base or an extract.
They're not going to buy it there anyway.
No, because they don't know what it is. But if you're in New York, Miami, Chicago, you've got a fresh squeezed lemons. And you're not going to buy them 3 for $1 at the supermarket. You're going to buy cases of them through the wholesale distributor. And the price comes down very low. And so you'll find out it's not too expensive to buy fresh lemons. So in New York, my formula for the type and texture of Italian ice that we sell is 7 pounds of sugar. The water stays constant, 14 quarts of water. The lemon juice stays constant, 2 quarts of lemon juice. But the sugar can change. At 7 pounds, it's got a certain texture that I like. I go down to Philadelphia, they like it smoother. They use 8 pounds of sugar. That makes the lemon ice, or as they call water ice, it makes it smoother. So Rita's, who we put in business, has a smoother ice than what you would find out on Staten Island in New York. You go over to Brooklyn, to Bay 8th Street, where everybody's speaking Italian and only Italian, and they're selling the Bernita. That ice is very crunchy. I mean, you can really have a texture to it. And what does that is it's not 8 pounds of sugar like Philly. It's not 7 pounds like New York. It's 6 pounds of sugar. And that makes it very crunchy. Then you get up into Rhode Island, and what we call at the amusement parks, we're in Universal, SeaWorld, Disney, Six Flags, you name it, we're there. They're selling frozen lemonade, which is my Italian ice formula, but put into a 16-ounce cup and served soft instead of scooping it like ice cream. And that product, what in Rhode Island and Massachusetts is called slush, and it's not slush like a 7-Eleven. That product is only 5 pounds of sugar to the full batch. So it's way down there, but we're pulling it out of the machine faster than we would Italian ice. So we're going to make a New York Italian ice today. And the way, and when I make up a new formula, which this one is for me, when it comes out great, I'm the most surprised person in the room, because I do it mathematically. What I figure, people say, oh, I want to buy an Emery Thompson, and I'm going to experiment for 3 years making different flavors. Well, I should keep my mouth shut and say, great idea. Why don't you do that? Buy my CB100 and experiment for 3 years and then buy a bigger machine. But the fact is, in order to come up with a recipe, I only have to make 2 batches. My first batch is mathematical. I say I need this much sugar to water ratio in order to actually freeze in the machine. And then this is what I want the taste and texture to be. So I do it by mathematics, which will be this. And if it works, great. And then you turn it over to Jeff, and Jeff does it a different way. His idea is like the Texas restaurants, too much is never enough. So if 4.5 pounds of bananas tasted great, let's try 6. And his flavors are really intense. So I came to my formula by saying this is what I need in order for it to properly freeze in the machine. And then Jeff, or my second batch would be, now how do I improve on the taste? Well, if I want more texture, less texture, smoother product, more sugar. If I want the flavor to pop, because, Jeff looks at me sometimes and says, it's okay, but if you'd only put in more raspberries, you would have really had something. And so on the second recipe, you can take this, adjust it to your personal taste, and there you go. You don't have to do anything more. You've got your formula until someday you decide that you want to change it. So we'll try this. He's grinning.
Well, or you can learn how to do it the right way on the table, create your formula, and then know when you put it in the machine, you're spot on.
Well, that's good. We'll see what happens. So if it comes out great, I'll take all the credit, but I'll also be extremely surprised.
If it doesn't, I'll throw a big I told you so.
Exactly. So that works for me. All right, so we're going to take 32 ounces of frozen strawberries, 4.5 pounds of ripe bananas, a quart of water, a pound of sugar, and lemon juice.
Where's everything?
Where is everything? Well, here are the bananas. They've been sleeping for a few days now. And the more ripe the bananas you can get, the better. When bananas get to the point where they are so brown that they're mushy, that's the best time to use them because they have their highest sugar content. When you first buy them at the supermarket and there's a little bit of green at the top, they're not so good, at least not for making ices and ice cream.
You have more bananas?
Oh, this whole thing is 4.5 pounds. So we're good to go there. The strawberries, I have to measure. And the lemon, I have to zest.
Everything going right in the machine? Are these thawed out? Yeah.
Yes. Could you give me, though, 32 ounces of frozen strawberries?
Sure.
It's
Why
leaking
don't we
a little bit.
mix this in here right away so I can use that?
Great. Okay, so here's my water in the formula. Here's my sugar, plain old cane sugar. Doesn't have to be bar sugar or anything else like that. Let's see, something to stir with. That'll be down here. And sugar dissolves very easily in cold water. I don't have to stir it for hours trying to get every last granule. If I pour it into the machine, there's a little tiny river of sugar. Don't worry about it. There was a whole pound in here. You know, a 32nd of an ounce isn't going to make any difference at all. So this dissolves very nicely. One question that always comes up, especially being down here in Florida, and again, I'm from the Bronx. What about the water? Do you have to purify the water? Because the water down here is terrible. The answer is yes and no. If I opened up here in Brooksville, Florida, north of Tampa, there's no tourists here. You're the only tourist this town has seen since the last class we did. And so I'm selling to the locals. They grew up on the water. They don't know the water's bad because it's all they've ever tasted. It's not bad to them. So I'm just using plain old tap water. Now, if I'm down in Miami, everybody in Miami is from New York and on vacation. I need to filter the water, maybe use a Culligan water softener to clean up the water, take some of the minerals out. Again, in New York, we consider it the best. I got to drop those by hand into the machine. Oh, you're going to puree?
Well, I thought the strawberries should be pureed.
Okay.
They're too big.
Then we'll puree everything.
That's what I thought.
Sorry. Great.
It's Italian ice, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
So you may or may not have to do the water. If you're out in Oswego, Illinois, and you're the first person with Italian ices, don't bother purifying the water because it's just fine. Everybody's used to it, and you know there's no Disney or SeaWorld out there to bring in people from faraway places. I'm going to zest a lemon, and I'll tell you why. This product, I'm going to change that formula. I got mixed up with one of my other forms. I'm going to use the juice, 1 ounce of juice of a lemon. If I was making a lemon ice, which will come out, this is going to come out red. If I was doing just a lemon ice, it's going to be pure white when it's finished. And so I want the lemon just zested so that I can put the little specks into the machine. I have this, it does nothing for the flavor. If anybody tells you, oh, it's the oils, that's bull. It's only 1 lemon. But I'm going to have little tiny specks of yellow in...
Did you say bull? It's bull?
Oh, I didn't say the second part. Little specks of lemon in this field of white. It's going to look really great. So that's why I would use a cheese grater. But for this, I'm just going to cut it open, rinse it off, cut it open, and use 1 ounce of juice. The lemon just helps to bring out other flavors. It's like when we make ice cream, we often use vanilla in other flavors because it really enhances it. And if I get a seed or two in there, it's no big deal, but I don't see any. So I'll take care of that. While Jeff's doing that, this is what's inside the machine. My grandfather started with one of these. That was a rock salt and ice machine, and he put salt in there and rock salt and turned the crank for 40 minutes to get a quart of ice cream. He then went back to his home in New Rochelle, New York. Remember Rob and Laura Petrie? They were from New York, the Dick Van Dyke Show. And he invented the world's first batch freezer. You can look at it later. It's up on the wall back there, and the patent is at the website. And his was a vertical machine, and it spun around like this, scraping the ices off the walls. Well, over the years, we turned it horizontally to get better blending front to back. And instead of wood paddles, it's Delrin and stainless steel. So this is in here, and it's going to be spinning around, scraping the ices off the walls. Very, very simple process. And we use, whether you buy my smallest machines or my biggest, they're all using the same concepts. This one is the same dasher in the 44 quart or 11 gallon machine. So you can see exact same design. So no matter what Emery Thompson you buy, it's still got the decades long lifespan and our unique blade system. I'll have these over here for you to look at later. Any questions so far? Everybody's quiet so far. Okay. So you got some puree here. You have to watch me because sometimes I leave ingredients out. Oh, that looks good.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of good to see. All fresh flavor. Now, you can do it with an extract, which would be very simple. I take a gallon jug, add about 1 ounce of banana and 1 ounce of strawberry, and I've got the same product. That costs me, if it comes down to a squeeze cup, a 4-ounce cup. That's a squeeze cup. This is the way we eat it in Italian neighborhoods. You put the product in here. It's a 3.5-ounce cup, so in order to give someone 4 ounces, it's crowned over, and we eat it by squeezing it up like that. That's the name, squeeze cup. If you call your paper supplier and ask for squeeze cups, if he's not from Brooklyn, he's going to look at you like deer in the headlights. They never heard of a squeeze cup. That's known as a pleated water cup. So when you're in an office situation, we have one in the kitchen, you go over to the water jug and you pull down a pleated water cup and get yourself some water, squeeze it and throw it away. This, using an extract, 4 ounces, is going to cost about 3 cents to produce, and I'm going to sell this for $2. Incredible markups. If I'm going to use all this fresh fruit, that price for 4 ounces is going to jump to an outrageous 7 cents, maybe 8. So I'm making the world's best product and serving it to you for 8 cents, and I'm selling it for $2 or higher. I mean, you just can't beat the profit margins on that. So rather than make something that's great to sell at Yankee Stadium, I want something that they're going to be lined up around the block on my street wanting to buy. And the difference is using fresh frozen fruit. Now, you'll notice I use frozen fruit that I thawed, because strawberries are only in season during strawberry season, whenever that is. So in the dead of winter, you can't get strawberries unless you bring them in from Argentina, and they taste like cardboard, and they're very expensive. So if you buy frozen strawberries in the bag, they were picked at the height of freshness. There's no artificial anything in there. It's just the strawberries. And so you're getting as good as if they were picked on the farm, but you have it available to you year-round.
Suggestion.
Yes, please.
How about if we throw a few of these whole in here so that you get a few pieces in there? You want to do that?
You can try.
It's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead. Or we'll feed them into the machine as we get it going.
Okay.
So let me pour these in. I'm going to pour the slurry in first, because then I can use the sugar water to wash it down. And how many quarts do we have here? We have 3, 5. I have more than I want. I'm going to put a little less than that in. Okay. So make sure the gate's closed. The last product you made, you took the product out of the machine and you left the gate open, and then you went and you put it in the freezer. And so now I go pouring this in, it's going all over the floor, and you're cursing my name because the machine leaks, and it's because you left the gate open. You laughed. You're going to do it. And then you'll remember, oh, Steve told me to close the gate.
Is that your 350 machine?
This is the 350. This makes up to 6 quarts at a time. I don't hear anybody going glug, glug, glug.
Glug, 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 glug.
Thank
glug,
you.
glug, glug.
There we go. That's
Glug,
better.
glug, 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 glug.
Okay. Now, the sugar and water.
Glug, 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 glug.
All right, Jeff, we're going to have to carry you away. Ken, I bet I don't have a splash guard.
A what?
Could you get me a guard? So this may splash out. Oh, forget it, Ken. I got it. Sorry. Okay, just put that on. Now, the infinite overrun is preset with different speeds for different products. Frozen custard is the heaviest weight ice cream you can make, so that's got a real low speed. Gelato is a little bit lighter, so it's a little higher speed. Then there's Haagen-Dazs, then there's super premium, and then there's homemade. Italian ices, sorbets, they have their own numbers. So I'm going to hit Italian ice and start. That's going to run it up to the speed I want. To tell you the truth, I have sorbet and Italian ice and frozen lemonade in here, and those three are running at the same speed. But people like to see that it says it. Turn on the refrigeration, and we're off to the races. So let me just start a timer. I tend to forget that I'm making a product and continue talking, which I'm very good at. And then all of a sudden I look and things are too quiet in the room and the machine is locked up because I let it freeze up. Your whole job while making ice cream or ices...
Focus.
Thank you. Good word, focus. Stick to what you're doing. So I get a little timer. I set it for 11 minutes. I think the batch is going to take about 13 or 14. And now I can go over here and I can start preparing my next batch. I don't get on the phone. I don't talk to Ken over there. I don't work with customers. I say, okay, for the next 3 hours, I'm making ices, ice cream, gelato. Your wonderful people go away. I'm going to concentrate on what I'm doing because this is my product. This is my inventory. I've got a little extra room in there, so I'll pour the rest of this in. This is an air-cooled machine, yeah. All the countertops are air-cooled, which makes them very mobile. Okay, the question is, there is a drawback to an air-cooled machine? Yes and no. On the smaller machines, this is a 2-horsepower compressor. That's a really big compressor for the size of the machine. This one's a 1 horse, and over there is a 0.6, a little above half. It's throwing out heat, but not so much that it's going to affect things. On these bigger machines, the floor models, they're double the size compressor. They're throwing out a lot of heat. So I've got the room set for 74 degrees. If this was air-cooled and I turn this on, in an hour, this room would be 78 degrees. You'd be uncomfortable. So I'd have to crank up the air conditioning. Well, water's expensive. Water's going through and then back out. Go ahead. Be my guest. This is cooling by air. This is cooling by, when I turn on this refrigeration switch, all of a sudden it's calling for water. When I turn this off, it doesn't use any water. It's cooling the engine. And that water is going through the machine and then out, and now, boom, it's stopped. It's not using any water. It's putting zero heat into the room. So I don't have to rely on expensive air conditioning to literally run the machine because it's not generating any heat. Water is expensive. Sewer is expensive. It's expensive all over the world. But it goes up, you look at your water bill, and it's up pennies a year over last year. But you still complain about it because why should you have to pay for water? But electricity goes up every time there's some type of political disturbance in the world. So you might be paying X amount of dollars for electricity today. 2 months later, it could be much higher. Electricity is air conditioning. Air conditioning is what's keeping you comfortable in here. So if I look at a 5, 10 plus plan for this business, my electric bills are going to be a lot more expensive than my water bill ever would be. So if you can use water cooled on the bigger machines, by all means, go for it. Why do we even build air cooled? Because you've got some locations, Los Angeles County, California, the island of Jamaica or Aruba or Saudi Arabia, where water is just not available. And so if you don't have it, you can't use it. So you go to air cooled. Yes, a question?
Yeah, I talked to
Yeah.
However, am I correct that if you have a water-cooled one, that it can be converted to air-cooled, but not vice versa?
Okay, the question is, once you buy a water-cooled machine, and this happened in Alexandria, Virginia, about 25 years ago, the people running Alexandria decided one day, well, we're going to protect the environment and we're going to ban water-cooled equipment, and we're going to make it retroactive on everybody who's out there. Well, the restaurants practically went out of business because everything was air-cooled. If you've got a water-cooled machine, and it's using water, like I said, and then you buy a second one and a third one, well, by the time you're running 3 batch freezers, you are running up a pretty good water bill. There is a solution. At that point, you can spend about $6,000 or $7,000, and you can get what looks like an air conditioning unit. Down here in Florida, we're all air conditioned. We have a little unit outside that cools the gas, that cools the air, and sends it back in here. Well, we can disconnect from the water supply, fill it with antifreeze, and then it comes out of the machine at 108 degrees. We can send it out to the air conditioning unit to chill it down to 40 and send it back in, what you call a closed loop system. So I can get off the water grid anytime I want. All it's going to take is some money. But if you're running 3 machines and these things last 45 years or longer, it's certainly going to pay to get off the grid. With an air-cooled machine, it's air-cooled. It's air-cooled forever, and it will always be, and there is nothing else you can do. So water-cooled gives you an option. Air-cooled, you will always be stuck with air-cooled. We sell air-cooled machines. Maybe 10% of the machines leaving here, of the big ones, are air-cooled, but that's about it. 90% are water-cooled. So to give you an answer and say one is better than the other, it really comes down to your personal location. Up in Massachusetts, this lady, my battery went dead. Anything that can happen will happen. So I'm going to have to watch this myself. Lady up in Massachusetts, everything was all set. We're going for a water-cooled machine. It's Massachusetts, plenty of water. The health department comes in and says, well, the way your plans show, you're going to take that hot water, instead of putting it down the drain and pay sewer, you're going to run it out to the cranberry bog out back. And that's going to kill the cranberry bog. So they just shut her down completely, said, we're not going to let you do this, before she even got out of the building plan stage. And so we sold her an air-cooled machine. But that's how rare it is. But we can pretty much tell by location. Also, if you're out in a rural location and you're on a septic system, anybody who has a septic tank knows that every couple of years you got to pump them out. You don't want it filling up with fresh water. So, because then you got to pay the sewer company to come with the big tank on the back and pump it out. So if you're on a septic tank as opposed to city sewer, we'd probably go air-cooled. So long answer to air versus water.
What was that question again?
Now I'm going to keep an eye on this.
Any other questions? Yes?
Okay, that's good.
That's the question. We're at 7 minutes. Come on, a little more creative.
That's not very much time. Ice cream takes, again, depending on the formula. Based on vanilla ice cream, which has no added sugar in it, about 8 minutes a batch. If I make strawberry ice cream, well, what does the strawberry taste like? It's sweet. So it's bringing extra sugar to the formula when I use strawberries. So strawberry ice cream is going to take longer than vanilla ice cream. Italian ice, there's no dairy, it's all sugar. So the freezing time is usually about 14 minutes or so. But it will vary depending on the product. Why don't I put a timer on the machine?
Why don't you put a timer on the machine?
Well, because anybody who's ever made ice cream will tell you after the first day, every product's different as far as freezing time. So if I've got a Cappuccini and it always shuts down at 9 minutes, I got great vanilla. But my strawberry is all soupy. I got to go back and turn it on. If I'm making mango sorbet with a machine with a timer, I have to go back and turn it back on. So we are putting some of the onus on you on purpose. The other thing is, the batteries just went dead in this. What if this was on the machine? This machine is the only one in the United States of batch freezers in the world that is National Sanitation Foundation and Underwriters Laboratories. To get those two stringent codes, this $6 Farberware timer would cost about $240. If it's an Italian machine or any other machine, it's going to shut off your compressor. So now, if this little guy goes bad, you're out of business until someone comes by, changes the $240 part, charges you $120 labor. Also, you can have a timer. And this is portable. I can carry it with me. I can go, I've got other timers. I can carry this with me and go into my office, except I'd be breaking my own rule. I'm here to make product, not to talk on the phone. So I'm going to just take a quick look at this. Now that's coming out very nicely. I can pull this product. You see that on the camera, Jack? I'm pulling this product at any temperature I want. There is no set temperature. It depends on what I'm going to do with it. If all of a sudden Jeff's in the front office and he says, Steve, we just ran out of that flavor, we got to have it, I'll pull it out of the machine a little stiffer. If I'm trying to make production, I know I want to get this made and get on to the next batch, so I'll probably pull it a little softer. When Jeff and I make ice cream, we both pull. Now, see how this cuts off like a knife went through it? That's ready. Turn off the refrigeration. We don't need any more cold. Grab a spatula and watch how fast this comes out. There's no restrictions to it coming out. So what it means to you is, besides getting the job done quicker, it means that the first part of my product is going to weigh the same as my last part. And that's important. I want consistency. Look at that product. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the color. That's
Take
all.
a picture.
That's all fresh strawberries and bananas. Yeah, well, they're hungry. Let me get the rest out. That one's for you. This one's for me.
They're clapping.
So come on up, and we'll give you a taste of this. And I think you'll like it.